to Tech with Heart. I am your host, Michelle Calloway. We are all about entrepreneurs, supporting entrepreneurism, helping you to embrace technology so that you can stay competitive and relevant. Tech with Heart is a nonprofit initiative, and we are thrilled to be able to host this Tech with Heart show weekly and bring experts to the table that really can guide you through sharing their knowledge, giving you their insights, and even tips and even technologies that could really shift how you do business so that you stand out and that you are successful in a digital era. So with me today, I'm super excited. I have a good friend, a good quality guy, but he is just really well-versed in this space of authority positioning for businesses, especially in a digital era. So if you have ever wondered, how can you set yourself apart and how can you just make a name for yourself successfully without killing yourself or without just spending a ton of hours doing things without any kind of return, then this Mike Driggers is the guy you want to be listening to. So tune in and hold on, fasten that seatbelt because we are going to cover a lot of really great content. Let me introduce Mike professionally here. He is an authority marketing agent, and he's a breakthrough marketing and sales strategist who inspires, motivates, and encourages people worldwide. He is recognized as one of the world's most in-demand international speakers, and he's also the most requested instant authority marketing coach. Yes, he's a big deal. He has been featured on all the major news networks and the Business Journal and Wall Street Journal, and has been in the top 10 of producers for the direct sales industry for more than 25 years. He's also a very well-published author. He himself has written multiple books. Just basically, if you don't do it, it'll never get done kind of concepts, but he'll talk more about that later. And he's also co-authored a book with Barbara Cochran from the TV show Shark Tank. So welcome to the Tech with Heart stage, Mike.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a great honor to be here. And if you guys hear a bunch of snorting and sniffing, I've got two pugs that are trying to get my attention and wrestling with each other. So I apologize.
Well, welcome to the show, pugs. Welcome to the show. Yeah. We are thrilled to have all of you. Yeah. All right, so Mike, without further ado, let's dive right in. So why is it such a struggle? What is the real deal here with trying to be an authority in your industry online?
Well, one, it's more important than it's ever been to be an authority in your niche. There's a gentleman who worked for Google, and he talks about this. It's called the ZMOT theory. And in the ZMOT theory, there used to be this journey of buyers that would go through a process. So like back in the day, my grandfather would see an ad on something, say, oh, I like that while he's watching football or whatever. And he says, oh, that's interesting. Then he goes down to a store, and then at the store, he then talks with the clerk and then buys it, comes home, and then he either liked it or didn't like it, and he would tell his family and friends. And this is what we call at the time, is the first moment of truth, right? The first moment of truth is when they're standing in front of that clerk, they're ready to purchase. Well, because of the technology and because of things that have happened over the years and the advancement in the internet and things that are going on, the executive over at Google had wrote about ZMOT. And if you do a search, you can find his PDF called ZMOT. And really what that means is that we're no longer in this era where a consumer says, let's say they watched the same ad, or they saw a billboard, or they saw an ad on their phone. What they do first is they start searching online. And as an authority, the number one job as an authority is to get your audience to stop, crack open the door, pay attention to you, and stop looking for someone else. And the way that you do that is deliver value-added content to the market so that at the ZMOT, when they're searching, they come across your information. And if you know, I'm assuming that you know who your clients are, your ideal client. I'm assuming you know what their desires and unwanted state is, where they're at and where they want to be with your product, right? I'm sure that you've already figured that out. So if you're putting out content that addresses this type of information, when that search happens, you want to be at the beginning of that search, right? Your content, the more value added content that you have, then you're going to be in a position when they're searching. So here's the path that happens. Once they find something, then they purchase, and then they've either taken it home or they bought it online and it shows up at their house. They then either like it or dislike it. Hoping that they like it, they're going to tell the world. They dislike it, they're for sure going to tell the world. And this information with reputation management, right, it gets positioned in that ZMOT target when they do searches. So it's more critical than ever to constantly feed value into the market as an authority, so that you're attracting not just an ideal client, but an ideal client that's ready to buy. That's different. And there's ways that you go to do that. And there's kind of 4 stages that I talk about when it comes to this.
Yeah, I think that what we would love for you to do is to share a little like oversights of the how part, because
Sure.
we want to be empowering entrepreneurs and not just giving them insights and knowledge, which is incredibly important because you have to have the mind right in order to create the strategy right. But then it's the implementation that's also just as important. So if you can share with us a little bit about the how, because when you say you want to be sharing valuable content, that sets you up as an authority, that could look and feel very differently depending upon who's listening and how they're what their knowledge base is. So if you don't mind sharing, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Well, people learn in different modalities, right? And the more of those type of modalities that you can cater to, the better. And there's really 4 stages to capturing as an authority. Is one, you've got to captivate, right? So whatever your content is that you put out, as far as it could be a video, for example, it could be articles, it can be a ebook, it's books. I'm going to tell you that the biggest thing that you should be putting out overall is video. I always do video first. Why? Because I can create these 60-second bumpers. This is why you got like TikTok, you got YouTube shorts, right? More and more people are watching video first before anything. They would prefer that. And so you create these, what I call 60-second bumpers, where they're educational pieces of information. Then the goal is to drive them into a pond. I call it pond. People open to new opportunities. And this I use, for example, I use Facebook to do this. So I'll drive and post my content out there into the market. Not only will I post it in front of my competitors or in front of the media, but I'm putting it in front of my ideal clients so that I'm constantly out there. Then they are attracted. This is where the captivation comes into play. Then I've got to connect, right? And so how do I connect with that? Well, like I said, if you know the desired states of your audience or who they are and what their pain points are, the information you're putting out is information that's going to help them in some way. Come as a servant, like you're like a waiter, like you've draped over, versus one that you put in your shirt and you're expecting everything. You want to serve first with information that can help them. This starts to create the connection when you're talking to them in their pain points and what they're experiencing and about where they want to go, the desired state, right? So once you've connected, then you want to be able to convert them into a potential customer. And this is where you put them into that pond. And like I said, I use Facebook groups to do this, where I'll put my audience into the pond, and then I continue to add value constantly. And I have a formula that I learned early on that went value, value, value. Then you sell, upsell, downsell, deliver, and then value, value, value. And the value is what you're delivering constantly. You're constantly feeding them. And what happens is this transition, it goes from the head to the heart with the client, where now they're ready to buy. So when you do make an offer and you're constantly adding value and helping them in the group, and you make that offer, they're more open to, when they get on the calendar, they're ready to buy at that point. The only thing they want to know is, can they work with you? And most of the time, that's a really easy question. And do they like your product, or they feel you're educated about your product? You got to remember, there's three things that it goes in a customer's mind. Do I like and trust you? Is this going to speed up the process for me? And then the third one is it going to eliminate any pain? So whatever your solution is that you can answer with the last two, the first one you answered because you built that authority status by putting out this type of content. So I use videos, supportable videos. Then once they're in my group, or excuse me, bumpers, once they're in my group, then I do supportable videos. And supportable videos are an example would be one pain point, and then, three tips on how to solve that, where a 60-second bumper would be one pain point, one tip, right? It's a shorter version. And the goal, again, is to drive them into a pond to where you can fish for your ideal client. You're in that. I'm from the South. We fish all the time, right? And I have that analogy where we're fishing, we're finding our ideal buyer that's ready to buy. And how do we do that? We keep bait in the water. We keep putting information in that's valuable to where then they want to make a purchase.
Being able to do business online is crucial for survival, especially during times of social distancing. So how do you survive and thrive in the sea of digital noise? It's a lot like fishing. You need to know who your perfect customer is, so that you could use the right kind of lure to attract them. We help you catch your perfect customer and retain them for future sales through highly converting websites, influencer mobile apps, getting you featured in the news and on TV. Hi, my name is Jerry Bowden, U.S. Army veteran and president of Revealio Software Solutions. Our goal is to help you rise above the competition, be seen as an expert authority in your industry, and embrace technology to stay competitive for long-term success. It's more affordable than you may think. So reach out to us at revealio.com, and together we will make your business come alive.
Go back to the original statement that you said you do video first. And I'm going to just kind of build that out a little bit, because when it comes to the content or the how part, how to build yourself up as an authority, what Mike said is absolutely spot on. And if you're watching the news or tuning in at all to what's really affecting people's lives right now, and when it comes to influence, then short form video is by far crushing all other forms of content. And here's the exciting part is that TikTok, sure, they've been a humongous influence in this new way of consuming content, and creators are getting even more creative with sharing their influence without it feeling marketing or salesy, because just people are over being sold to. It doesn't work at all anymore.
Nope.
But here's the neat thing about YouTube, Google's like, whoa, we don't want to be like losing out on this. And then Facebook and even Pinterest is jumping in on this bandwagon. But YouTube is now indexing short form video content. What that means is that, Mike talked about different learning modalities. There's the visual learner, there's the auditorial learner, there's those who need to read it in order to retain it. And then there's those who need to practically experience it, like tactile learners. They need to do the experience in order to retain it. And so the great thing about doing video first is that the video contains the message. You can you extract out of that video a transcript so that you actually have words being indexed on places like YouTube. And you also can have audio put out, so you can push it out on platforms, like I am Spotify or iHeartRadio if you have a podcast show. I mean, there's so many different platforms now that you can be putting that content out there. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, you can use this content, like you said. You got video, right? And then you got audio, and you can turn that into 2 minutes with Mike or whatever, a podcast, or 1 minute with Mike, right? And then you could take the text and get it transcribed, and now you've got an article. You can take certain text out there and create tweets. You can make memes from the video with the text, right? So there's so many different things that you can do starting with video. And like you said, YouTube is now indexing shorts. And here's the reality. Think about this. Unlike Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, YouTube cannot survive without content developers. They are starving for content. They want your content. They want it out there. And so when somebody does a search, they're starting to deliver, since Google owns YouTube, they're delivering videos up at the top of the search results, right? And the more of that you have around the pain points of your ideal client, with videos and then articles and then memes and posts and all this stuff that leads to one place to drive them to, where you can give even more value to go into the conversion, which then stage 4, I talked about 4 stages, right? We talked about captivate, connect, convert is where you convert them into your pond. And then the 4th one is close and deliver whatever it is that you have to offer. So it is more critical in today's world to be able to really get out there and position you. And if you want to compete with some of the bigger companies, this is the way to do it. Video first, like you video everything, and it doesn't have to be polished. The video, look at the newscast. Look at COVID showed us one thing when you see the newscast doing, things from home and their hair's all messed up, makeup not quite right, cats running around, dogs fighting underneath my feet, like right now. It doesn't have to be, polished. You can make it raw. And don't be afraid to make mistakes, because people, this is where part of connection is, that people see you as a real person. What they're wanting to know is, can they trust you? Do they like you? And these are the things that you can build through delivering value that addresses what their desired state is.
I'm going to throw in just a little special tip that I think this is a gem, actually, when it comes to doing these short videos, is that when you craft your message, you have a topic, and then you can bullet those out in points, and then you can even go into sub points, and then you can go into sub points. Sometimes those sub points are a perfect little 30 to 60 second video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The neat thing here is that when you go to create these videos, rather than start every video with, "Hi guys," and introduce yourself, just go straight into as if you're having a conversation. I'm finding that the unpolished and the direct into a conversational, or maybe even pose the first phrase out of your mouth as being a question that will hook the audience, then that will grab their attention and they'll stop. They call it stop the scroll. You want to stop that scroll when people are flipping between different videos and whatnot. So that's just a little extra special gift.
At the same time, so you have that hook that hooks them. Then you're going to talk about what you're going to talk about. Then you talk about it. Then you reframe what you just talked about and have a call to action, right? That's in the 60 seconds. You've got to do that. That's why it's one little bullet. And what I'll do with my supportables, which is 3 to 5 bullets, when I'm feeding my private group, the pond, later on, after I've made that, let's say a couple months after, I chop it up into little 60-second bumpers and deliver those online, and it addresses whatever the desire say. 1 tip on this, right? And then it has that hook. I tell them, what we're going to talk about. You don't need to introduce yourself. That they already know who you are. You can do it at the end, because you'll lose people if you get into a whole big introduction of yourself. Your goal is to feed them, serve first, hook them, deliver the content, tell them what you're going to talk about, right? Then talk about it, then reframe and what you just talked about, recap, excuse me. And then call to action. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to like the button? Do you want them to subscribe to the YouTube channel, or grab your newsletter, or go to your Facebook? Everything I do is I drive to a Facebook group first. Now, you may have a LinkedIn group. Go to a LinkedIn group. I put everyone that I feel that, through my authority position and attraction system, that I bring everybody into a group that I can feed privately more advanced stuff. And this is where it builds that transition, that conversion from head to heart, where they want to work with you and purchase. And so, so that's how I would do the videos. And it's a great point, Michelle. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen a lot of my colleagues doing that, and I cringe a little when I see them even on these short form videos saying "Hi guys" or "Hey everybody."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just don't do that. Let's go ahead and move into the conversion part, because here's what I hear a lot of times: small business owners are like, "Okay, I just need to, I guess, buy more ads or something so that I can get more conversions." And I'm thinking to myself, well, is it a advertising issue or is it a conversion issue because maybe you're not providing enough value or insights or authority at point of purchase? So let's talk a little bit about how they can create more conversions.
Well, let's take a look at influencers. This whole world of influencers. They don't buy ads. What do? They create content, and they constantly put out content, and the followers start to follow and subscribe to their content because they're delivering content people want to see, right? And they don't spend any money on ads. Not till later on do you see any of the major influencers paying for ads, and that's usually because they're getting paid for something on that video, right? An endorsement or whatever. So but they've built their whole list off of content. So you don't need to run ads. Now, if you're going to do ads, I mentioned this earlier, is that I'll boost a video in Facebook. Like I'll put it on Facebook and I'll boost versus a paid ad. Why? I can get 1 million likes or views, 1 million views of a video for a couple $100. Whereas a paid ad, I'm paying based on the auction rate of what that word is, or for the time being. And if it's during the holidays or political, you're fighting even for more ad space to an audience that's already being taken over by a bigger budget. But when I boost videos and I target, like I'll have my audience for my lookalike audience, who my ideal clients are, who I serve, then I'll have the media, and then I have in front of my competitors, or if I want to step in front of the traffic of somebody, say Anthony Robin, for example, if I want to step in front of their traffic, all I got to do is put in the profiles and information so that anybody that has that or searches, guess what? My video pops up, right? That's way less expensive than paying for paid ads, which you can in Google and Facebook. And if you do, look, there's a science behind this. In Facebook and Google, I've been through several sessions on this type of advertising. It's not something that you want to just go and say, oh, I'm going to do an ad. Right, there is some deep science behind this, and knowing conversions, knowing things that there's a lot of places that like, for example, Facebook, if you don't have your URL verified within their system, they're not going to tell you, and you start delivering ads, they're going to deliver your ads at a poorer quality than if you had it verified. There's little things like this. And here's the beautiful thing: both Facebook and Google have a university where you can go learn this stuff. It's not that hard. It's free. You can even get certified in this. And so my suggestion is that before you do any type of advertisement, is that you work with somebody who knows what they're doing. Because it can cost you a lot of money for very little results, right? There's so many things, like retargeting is a big thing. Like I get an acquisition cost of $1 a lead based on a retarget campaign for a very popular word. And so, but you need to know how to do that and what to do, right? So there's some real science behind it. And if you aren't familiar with how to run it, find an expert that can do it. And again, if you can go to Google and put in their university, and maybe I'll send Michelle the links to both Facebook and Google, where you can go and learn on your own how to set up your ads and what to do and so on.
But here's what I know, Mike. If your business landing page or whatever, your funnel or however you want to go about making that sales conversion isn't set up in a way that provides enough support on all aspects, whether it be your authority or what deliverables, or, to build up the value of the fee that you're asking for, the costs associated with the offering, as well as social proof and any kind of a backup guarantee, like what if you don't address those things, then conversions are going to be a lot lower. So I know that advertising is a tool, but my point is that a lot of small businesses shouldn't be spending a dime on ads until they can prove that their systems or foundation is in place and it's actually converting organically. So can you tell us a little bit about your conversions?
And that's a good point. Absolutely. Right. So if you've got your attraction systems out there where you now captivate and connected to them, now you got to get them to a site that, or a funnel or a capture page or something that's going to convert them into wanting to work with you. In my case, I do have different sales funnels, and the language speaks to them and their desired state, right? And so I'm addressing what they want to have. Because remember, most people, when they come to you to buy, they come to you in a unwanted state, like they have an issue or a problem that needs to be solved and they're wanting to buy. Like, does it eliminate pain, create pleasure, and speed up a process? These three things is what they're thinking in their mind. How was this product going to affect me and make my life better, right? So you've got to be able to translate that type of information from your site, which in today's world, brochureware type sites, they're okay, but they're not going to convert like a sales funnel does, right? Having a capture page, having something that can convert them into. So for example, I have an ebook that I use on my website. I've got my attraction content out there in the market, and it drives them back. They get the ebook. All through my ebook, I'm educating and providing value. And then from there, I'm getting them to book a call, the next step, right? To have a conversation with me. And, and this is a great point that you bring up, because it's not only, Michelle, it's not only just the conversion of your capture page or the sales funnel, but it's also understanding the lifetime value of your customer, right? And having a value ladder. And if a lot of people don't know what that is, basically it's a journey of purchases that from the moment they find out who you are to when they purchase and beyond, what are the additional purchases that you can position in front of you? They've always said, you make more money off your existing customers than new customers, right? Because you've got to build that value. And once they become a customer, then if they like working with you or they like your product, then they're going to buy more of it. So what is it that you're going to give them a path to that, right? And that's what a value ladder, it builds to a path. And again, you need to know what your lifetime value of your customer is, your LTV, they call it. Because once you get them to the site, now you've languaged to their emotions and what they want now, and you've given them something of value, and you continuously give them value. It converts them into, let's say in this case, they buy it, then I have a nurturing list, nurturing email that nurtures them and gives more value. And then from there, I then put it into play where they book a strategy call with me. Then they get on the phone. They've joined my private group. They're watching the trainings that I'm providing based on their needs and wants. And then from there, that level of conversion where that goes from the head to the heart, where they're now ready to buy. And that's at that point, they're ready to transact. You can have people that want your product, like your product, but they're not ready yet. They need more. There's something there. And you just do that by continuously delivering value added content.
Okay, so you have given us just a plethora of great information, and I want to thank you again so much for being on the show, sharing your heart and sharing some of your concepts and whatnot. If you're tuning in and you're fairly new to digital marketing, being able to make sales while you sleep is kind of what Mike's all about. So you want to work with somebody like that, can help you kind of define all the different strategies and steps required in order for you to be able to churn sales while you sleep. There's a lot more to it than just showing up, speaking at an event, and then just having one of your VAs, virtual assistants, follow up, and make some sales over the phone. That's the old school way. So there is a lot more to the digital marketing world, but I got to tell you, once you get these systems in place, they just can grow exponentially. You get your side of your fulfillment side to be able to scale. You could really, really grow fast in this digital era. So that's what Check With Heart's all about, right? We want to make sure that we're empowering people to be relevant and competitive today in a digital era.
I totally agree with you. And there's one thing that I want to add to that, right? Is once you have this foundation, now it's about scaling. Like it's how, like now you go do a podcast tour, you get into the media, you sell without selling in the media, and there's ways to do that. And that's what I do with a lot of my coaching clients is I teach them how to sell without selling. But that foundation, if you don't have it in place, you're going to lose a ton of money if you try to go out there. I get tired of seeing all these people like, oh, and no offense to anybody that does this, but they have you publish a book and get in the media, but if you don't have your foundation in place, you lose partnerships, you lose money, you lose opportunities like you wouldn't believe because of the ZMOT. You don't see them searching you. But if your content's out there at that point when they're searching because they have this unwanted state, your content captures them, your systems and the way you're out in the media and you're selling is what's going to convert them into wanting to be more, knowing more about you. And that's where that authority positioning starts to happen. I've seen people hit the top in 30 days or less just by video content. And now they're speaking on major stages because how they did it and what they did. And they had their systems and foundation in place. So if once you have this in place and you're delivering this, now you can scale to unbelievable sizes.
So you got to get that horse in front of that cart. And so Mike's a perfect person to reach out to. So Mike, how would somebody reach out to you? Can you go ahead and share where they can go?
They can go to a couple ways. One is just go to my website, mikedriggers.com. And I have my on there, I have a free ebook, the Authority Trust Framework, right? Where you can learn about what I just talked about. There's a whole masterclass that I did and I put it into an ebook. So you can go grab that. On my site, there's a book call, and you can schedule any time from my site to get on my calendar to have a conversation with me to help you with whatever needs that you may have that you're struggling with when it comes to positioning yourself as an authority and marketing your products or services.
Perfect. So what is one thought? Because we covered a lot. Like, what is one takeaway thought that you really want listeners to walk away remembering?
That the biggest thought is, how am I going to get in front of these customers in the ZMOT? And that's what you've got to constantly think about. How do I be there when they're searching? And then how do I protect my reputation so that when they are searching, they're finding nothing but 5 stars and value with my added content?
Thanks, Mike. So thank you for tuning into this show today, the Tech with Heart show. And if you are an entrepreneur who wants to be guided and warmly welcomed into a community of forward thinkers, and also heart-centered entrepreneurs who want to all embrace technology so that we can be more competitive and relevant, because this is a community that we're building where we grow alongside one another. We bring in experts and we bring in newbies. We really want it to be a beautiful place to grow your business and stay competitive and relevant. Go to techwithheartnetwork.com. Check us out. We're a nonprofit, very focused on how we use technology, making sure that we're always putting humanity first and the human connection above all artificial intelligence or any kind of automation. So that is who we are. And if you are an expert and you would like to come on the Tech with Heart show and be a speaker and present your insights and give back to the entrepreneurial community, just go to techwithheartnetwork.com. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. And here is to your success.